Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi everybody, thank you for watching Old Guy Tech TV interviews, and we're here today with Mike Pettibone, running for Supervisor, El Dorado County District 4, and I want to thank you, Mike, for running. Thank you very much.
Rob. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And before we start, one of the things I always tell all the candidates running is I want to say thank you for running. It is because the way our system works, if we don't have people that run for office, we don't get a voice. We don't get anything. I mean, you know, we're back to the old days of the king lording everything over us. So I always feel that it's important that that people run and take the time to do it, and it's a thankless job, and you're probably working harder now than you ever had, trying to run and go everywhere. So first of all, just thank you very, very much for running, and we really appreciate you coming here to Old Guy Tech TV and being part of the show. So why don't we start out real quick here a little bit. Mike, why don't you just give some history about yourself? Tell the audience about you and what it is that made you decide to run.
Well, I moved myself up with my family to El Dorado County in 1975. Mm-hmm. And my family still owns that ranch that we moved to, 11 acres in Shingle Springs. And I think I was 7 or 8 years old. And my parents wanted to get us out of the city, wanted to get us into a more rural setting where we can have animals, livestock, mm-hmm. participate in 4-H and FFA rather than, at the time, it was baseball or swim teams.
Right.
And it just made for such a great childhood, being raised in and around Shingle Springs and participating in everything throughout the years. And then as I become an adult, because of the experiences I had with 4-H and FFA, I got out of high school, went to college for a couple of years, and decided I'm ready to start a business. Mm-hmm. And opportunity came about that I started young, the age of 20 years old, self-employed general contractor.
Great.
And built my company up to employ as many as 17 people. And all the years of putting things together, I sort of transformed from worried about how many jobs I can get and how much money I can generate to how many people I can serve, mm-hmm. how many people I can take care of. And all of a sudden, the 17 families that worked for me started to feel more like family than just an employee.
Sure.
And the hardest thing that an employer would ever have to do is walk into work one day and tell half of the staff not to come back the following week. So that's more or less in a nutshell what led me to return to leadership here in El Dorado County, mm-hmm. To restore that opportunity that I had as a 20-year-old so that my 20-year-old could have those same opportunities here in El Dorado County.
Yeah. Well, that leads into one of the questions I ask everybody, and I believe jobs is the key, to helping El Dorado County. And, unfortunately, all of those of us that have our children in the 20s and 30s, to get a decent job or to have a career, they have to leave El Dorado County. And so I ask candidates, I said, what do you think we can do to bring jobs to El Dorado County? And I'm not just talking, there's nothing wrong with the big box store jobs, but that's not a career.
Right.
I'm talking about true, honest to goodness, career type businesses.
Well, Rob, first off, I'd like to say jobs is my number one priority.
Good.
It's my number one priority in this whole campaign because I believe this, simple, basic principles. If you create opportunity, you can create prosperity. You cannot get to prosperity without an opportunity. And that goes both for our youth and our elderly that are trying to retire here. We need to create jobs here in El Dorado County. We have an aging out community that's going to need services. Right. We have a younger generation that gets out of college and can't afford to return to El Dorado County because of that lack of opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so regardless of the genre of whether you want to classify them big box stores, whether you want to call it construction and industry, or whether you want to call it more restaurants or services, I think that anybody that shows an economic interest in El Dorado County needs to be sat down with by the Board of Supervisors mm-hmm. and encouraged to come here. But no business is going to want to come to El Dorado County if they can't prosper. In other words, if they cannot serve the people and the people be faithful to that and return the service, they won't exist. So we're not attracted.
Okay, then that brings the question, how would you make us attractive?
How would I make us attractive? Well, like I just said, as far as sitting down with anybody that shows an economic interest in this county. Now, a lot of times this gets turned into a debate over growth versus no growth. And a lot of times that's the biggest topic at the board, is whether a certain developer is going to get his way with the land that he bought with his intentions,
Right.
or is the county going to get their way? So then it becomes a stalemate and nothing happens. Well, if nothing happens, that's the worst thing that can happen for us.
Right.
If something happens, whether it be, let's use the Walmart scenario. There was a lot of people opposed to Walmart coming to town. They said, no, it's going to put out a lot of mom and pop shops. But Walmart services so many people with affordable products. It's almost the equivalent of giving everybody in El Dorado County an economic raise.
Right.
Because they no longer have to travel down the hill.
Correct.
They can shop locally. Shop locally means somebody can live locally and somebody can work locally.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a low-paying job or a high-paying job. The fact that it's a job in El Dorado County means our tax revenues stay here because our dollars are exchanged here.
Right.
And that's very important. We're losing business on both sides of the hill. The divide goes to Auburn. Everyone from even Placerville below will go to Folsom.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a huge impact.
Yeah, it is. And I've always used the Ford store example here in, where in El Dorado County, we had a Ford store that was here for over 30 years. And due to a sale of the dealership and very poor management from the company that bought it, they went under. And yes, it was tough economic times. I understand that. But there's no excuse for us not to try to go out there and attract that business, because now you got to go down the hill. If you're a Ford person, you got to go down the hill. And so what do we lose? We lose the sales tax revenue part that comes in there. We lose the general business part that goes in there. That means all the employees, all the products that are bought, all the taxes and revenue that's done by one dealership.
One dealership.
Yeah.
One Ford dealership that claims to be America's truck. America's number one selling truck cannot even be bought in El Dorado County. I happen to support the GMC dealership in town, and we won't mention names, but I've bought in 4 trucks, GMCs. My dad's a Ford guy. He's bought in 4 times as many trucks for his company than I had for mine, and he goes downtown, down to Sacramento. And it's not just the fact that he buys his trucks in Sacramento because he wants to. It's because at this point, like you mentioned, he has to.
He doesn't have a choice.
He is a Ford guy to the core,
Right.
and he's not going to change that, and he's not going to change his fleet with his business here in El Dorado County because he cannot buy that vehicle locally.
Right.
And you mentioned a lot of the impacts that has. The employees. I'm not sure how many employees our GMC store has locally, but I would imagine the Ford store, if back in town or nearby, would employ probably equal as many. I see a lot of Fords in this county, and I know for a fact that's not just mechanics, salespeople, and trucks. It relates to every service that deals with that. If you want to call Ford a big box store,
Right.
the people that clean the windows, the people that do the janitorial, the people that even bring the uniforms,
Right.
on down the road. How many jobs does that touch here in El Dorado County, if it were here in El Dorado County?
Sure. So many states, let's just take Texas as an example, and there's others. They're shopping in our county, believe it or not. They're coming here and they're going to some of the big businesses and saying, you know what? We will give you 10 years, no tax. We will waive the TIM fees. We will build the infrastructure for you.
Yes.
And your job is to bring jobs to Texas and build your product here. Now, California couldn't be more business unfriendly
Opposite of Texas.
than any state that I know, and the complete opposite of
Exactly.
Texas. And so I understand that the whole problem is not just on the shoulders of El Dorado County, but it's a statewide issue. But would you ever see us at a time in El Dorado County where we would do something like that, say reduce the TIM fees, encourage them to come in by maybe a tax cut for a certain period of time? Could you see yourself going in that direction?
Well, I'd like to make a couple examples with that, Rob.
Okay.
The first you mentioned were the TIM fees. I look at the TIM fees more recently as a membership fee to El Dorado County. And I'll use myself as an example. I've been here since 1975. I do not impact these roads any more now than I did then.
Okay.
I mean, when I was 16, I got a driver's license, and yeah, I'm impacting the roads a bit more than riding around with my parents. And recently sold my house, and I want to build a new house. But should I have to pay that $70,000 membership fee again? I already owned a house. So when it comes to the TIM fees, I look at the TIM fees locally as being one more deterrent to come do business in El Dorado County. And Texas has a great model for promotion of their state. I would like to take the same things that we have here and promote El Dorado County. Another example, aside from TIM fees, would be some of the tourist things we have. We have a great river economy.
Oh, yeah.
We have the Jeepers Jamboree, which 2 weeks out of the year is Georgetown's biggest economy.
Right.
And that could be, and it already is, a nationally renowned trail.
Absolutely.
But it could be done better.
Yeah.
It could give reason to people to make El Dorado County a destination. And we have a vast amount of rooms here, mostly bed and breakfast, carry house, similar. And we could use more, overnight daycation type housing, whether it be more bed and breakfasts or more big chain type hotels or
Sure.
motels.
Right.
So there's examples that we can do to get business into El Dorado County. But the one thing we've got to stop doing is with Folsom, for example, say yes to a few things instead of no.
That would be different. For real. And I've told a couple of people, and since you've been here as long as you have, you probably remember this, that when Intel came up into our area, they shopped El Dorado County and they shopped Sacramento County. And they came to El Dorado County, into where the business park is, and they looked around and they said, this is a wonderful area, we would love to come in here. How can you help us come in here? And so what they were looking for is what any major company is going to look for is, again, waiver of TIM fees, a certain period of time with no taxes, and some help with water hookups and some of the other permitting that needs to go along with it. And they would have created the 1,500 jobs, high-paying jobs in El Dorado County. At that particular time, the supervisors went, "Nah, are you crazy? We make all kinds of money. We can't help you at all. You want to come here, you're going to pay the full boat."
Exactly. Yes.
Guess who got it?
Yes.
Folsom. Right? Folsom bent over backwards.
And we have a local example of that. And I'm not afraid to throw this out there. Our local Indian casino is a perfect example of the county changing its tone from the lessons they've learned about the losses of Intel now to the casino. Now, there's numbers being thrown on both sides of the fence here that they don't pay enough, and then some say they pay plenty. But I'll give you an example. I was a recent member of the last Sheriff Citizens Academy, and I went through that program 15 weeks every Tuesday night, and I learned that the casino pays our sheriff's department somewhere around $600,000 a year. Not only that, they employ 1,300 local residents, mostly local, because the jobs aren't such that they can afford to travel from Sacramento. In other words, a college student's not going to travel out from here out to Thunder Valley Casino for a $10 an hour job. But it gives our students that are in that interim, that transition between being students trying to pay their way through school and career people here in the county. So the casino is a good example of bringing that business here. It attracts people from outside the county, which leave their tax dollars here, and that casino in itself is kind of a reversal of what everything else has been happening business-wise in El Dorado County.
Yeah, and the county spent huge dollars fighting the casino for many, many years. And, love it or hate it, the Indian casino won out, and it's there, and people love it.
And nobody wanted that land when they were removed from downtown Sacramento and relocated to Shingle Springs back in the early 1900s.
Right.
But now, all of a sudden, they still have a right to their land, and you're exactly correct. The county spent a number of dollars in lawsuits and lost time and mitigations over all these things, and now they're actually, so those things have actually
Yeah.
panned out,
Yeah.
and now we have what's there, and the recession is putting a hit on them as well as everybody,
Sure.
but at least they are paying their share. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers.
Right.
I can't say.
I believe they also pay, besides for sheriff's department, they also pay a certain percentage to the county for services as well. So
Yeah, I'd like to make this point too. A lot of people say, yeah, but look at the crime rate that's gone up on that casino property. The only reason why the crime rate has gone up on that property is casinos have cameras. Cameras catch crime. The same crime used to happen in Samstown parking lot or Safeway's parking lot.
Sure.
But none of them had the resources because they weren't worried about catching their cheaters or their, their major gaming crimes.
right.
But in the interim, they catch other crimes too, which leads to a whole nother revenue. And then that's when some people of the departments might say, well, 600,000 is not enough for the number of calls we get called out to. But without their systems, we wouldn't be catching these.
Yeah, and also they pay for fire protection as well. So I mean, they are helping the county. There's no doubt about it. Are they carrying their weight? I have no way of knowing.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things.
Depends upon who writes the reports.
Well, exactly. You never know. So, what do you think is? Because I have some ideas. What do you think is the most important issue facing our county right now?
I think one of the most important facing our county right now is the fact that we're an aging out community. Most of the people that are my age and above have had their children, and they're staying. They're staying here because they love it. I love it. I love the area. My parents love the area. My friends and their parents love the area. Yet all of our children, the generations behind me, love it too. But they can't get affordable housing. They go off and they get their degrees, and they can't get a well-paying enough job. This leads us back to that opportunity that I wish to create, because without that opportunity, both for jobs and affordable housing, you can't keep up a vital economic region here. And that leads to what I think is one of our most precious resources is our enrollment in schools. We have a declining enrollment because of these things I just mentioned.
Right.
That is continuing. So then you can almost forget about building a sixth high school, because now you're having to shut down a high school in an area where it has aged out, and only grandchildren come to visit on the weekend. They don't come to stay.
Right.
So what we've got to look at is how we're having a declining enrollment, and what we're going to do if we lose those schools and we lose those jobs and those economic circles.
So help me here a little bit understanding your vision of low or affordable housing. What do you believe that means?
Well, my vision of affordable housing is my dad always taught me to never budget more than about 41% for the roof over your head of your annual salary. And if you take and you can, like I said, depend upon who writes these reports, you can come up with any number of numbers. But if you basically take our average job salary in this county, and then you take the average housing cost, that equation's nowhere near 40% right now. It's much higher because of the boom between 2000 and 2005. My company was a very big part of that. I was very successful in those years and built a lot of big homes that only the very top could afford.
Right.
And so I know right now, personally, I have 3 children live in this county, range between 20 and 25 years old. I built my first house when I was 20. My son would love to build a little house for him. We're not talking about a mansion. We're talking about just an affordable house. But he has these obstacles to overcome. I'm like, Dad, hey, I got a piece of land, but now what am I going to do? Before I can stick a shovel in the ground, I've got to pay the schools, the fires, the this, the that, and it adds up to almost $60,000. The problem with that is that goes on his tax base. That goes into the value of the home. I don't care if you put it off, you let him make payments on it. No matter how you slice it, that in itself becomes a cost.
Sure.
A hard cost.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's taxed for the rest of his life at 1.25%.
Right.
So it's like a tax on top of a fee on top of a tax. And I just think we're overregulated and we're overtaxed when it comes to those things.
Yeah. There's no doubt that my feeling is that our TIM fees are too high, and that there's got to be a way of working something out. I mean, we still have to keep revenue coming in the county, but we have issues like water. And when you talk TIM fees, you also have to talk about EID water fees. When you pay for that meter now, you've got that as well. But then you also have, can we sustain the growth that people envision in some areas? With the example this year, we have very dry year.
Very dry.
And we have very little water storage. The people were so anti-Auburn Dam, there was no foresight in storage, which would have helped tremendously. So do we really have, at this time, an ability to build affordable housing simply because infrastructure is so expensive and water is so lacking?
Right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Auburn Dam, because recently I went to a Tom McClintock town hall meeting, and Tom made a very interesting point. Had we had Auburn Dam with this current drought we're in,
right,
Auburn Dam would have had enough resources to refill Folsom 2.5 times.
Right.
So that's like savings. That's like money in the bank. Water is just as important as money in the bank. So, and in talking to the experts at EID, and I've interviewed several of them, honestly, I've got to have these answers. So I've interviewed several of them, and I've talked to the general manager, and he reassures me we do not have a water shortage. We have a storage shortage.
Exactly.
And if it weren't for the drought, we would be fine.
Right.
And the fact that they're asking people to cut back 30% is just merely because if the tank goes dry, it's dry. But if we all cut back, we'll make it through. It's almost like having your car low on gas in the desert and you don't take your foot out of it.
Right.
If you don't take your foot out of it, you're not going to get to the next gas station.
Well, exactly.
So I think we need to look at what we can do to improve our water storage. A simple solutions would be, instead of creating new dams, which are big major investments, maybe look at some of the smaller ones. Maybe look at adding 5 feet to Forebay, 5 feet to the height of Loon Lake. Adding 5 feet to what we have existing adds tremendous storage, because everybody knows the top of the funnel holds a lot more than the bottom.
Well, sure. And those are actually being looked at. I'm aware of a number of studies looking at doing that. And Folsom, of course, has done it a few times, and they're continuing to raise. But they got to get, without any snowpack, and then their requirement to release so much water and money. Yeah,
water.
It's a tough situation that they face there. So
it's very tough. But whether you're looking at homes or whether you're looking at agricultural requires water. How is a plant not going to grow if it's not watered? How are you going to prosper with fruit if you can't water it?
Nothing's going to grow, is it?
Exactly.
Without that water.
So agricultural and some of the resources we have here in the county, which is very important. I mean, we have a great Christmas tree, commodity here in El Dorado County, and that brings in December a whole nother attraction to Apple Hill.
Right.
Well,
the wineries are they're a full-time 365-day-a-year business.
Exactly.
And they're bringing an awful lot to El Dorado County. And it's interesting to look at the structure, because we do have agricultural rates, which are considerably lower than residential rates, which I applaud EID for doing it, because we want these growers to be able to grow and hire people.
Definitely.
I know of one winery in itself that's got 14 full-time employees working that winery.
But let me tell you what I know about wineries is they're great for our region. They do bring people from outside the region back in, much like I mentioned the casino.
Absolutely.
But when you talk about generating jobs, and the high-tech jobs you said that you wished we could generate here, those 14 employees of those wineries are probably closer to the minimum wage side than the careers that we're looking to develop. And those hundreds of acres that are covered with grapes are managed by minimum or less workers. So it's great that we're putting in wineries, but the fact of the matter is the jobs that they're creating are really no better than the jobs that Walmart created.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. But of course, nothing higher tech would go out into the areas where the wineries are anyway. So,
Just like a winery would not go into the 50 corridor.
Correct.
It makes perfect sense.
Right.
To
Right.
adhere to our general plan and maybe think about how we develop in the future.
right.
And that's what I wish to do.
Yeah.
Is take a non-biased approach at all these things that create opportunities here in El Dorado County.
So let's say you're elected. What is the first thing you're going to do when you get in office?
Probably go to work every day. I've been self-employed since I was 20, which means I work 7 days a week, 24/7, as you know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to work by talking to the people in the district. I'm going to go to work as I represent District 4. I'm going to go to work seeing what they want. And I have a pretty good idea what the people of the Divide want versus the people of El Dorado Hills want. And it's a diverse, very
Absolutely.
diverse
So-
district.
Remind me, District 4, it goes from where to where?
District 4 starts basically at the center of Folsom Lake and goes all the way up past Loon Lake. And it uses Salmon Falls, Green Valley Road, Cameron Park Drive, up Duroc, cuts back into Motherlode Drive, down to Greenstone Road, back over to Green Valley, and then follows the outskirts of Placerville and up Carson Road. So it includes Mosquito, and it includes Lotus, Coloma, the Divide, which includes Pilot Hill, Georgetown, Wentworth Springs Road, all the way up Quintet, Volcanoville. And I've personally done projects in every one of these little towns as a self-employed builder
Yeah.
for years.
So on the campaigning trail, excuse me out there, you've got such of a large area to cover, and yet such lack of density in population.
Yes.
It must be very difficult to campaign.
Well, to me it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's not difficult, but you just have to know that you're dealing with two different entities. I'll tell you this as an example. The Divide and the people on the Divide are just, happy to have enough to get by right now. They would like some, more steady economic businesses come to their region so they don't have to travel outside the area for jobs as well. And they have a long ways to travel. They're not near the 50 corridor or the 80. They're kind of
Right.
in the middle.
Right.
And you look at lower El Dorado Hills and they're focused on their needs. And a lot of their needs are let's fix Highway 50. We can't even get to our garage. It takes us a half an hour to commute home from Sacramento in the evening. When the people on the Divide say, we don't even go to Sacramento unless we need to get on an airplane. And we don't care if they fix their highway.
Right.
We don't have a problem getting in our driveway. So why are you going to have me pay a fee to fix their problem? So you really have to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
You have a lot of issues. But a supervisor votes on all issues in
All
the county.
issues. That's right.
And I try to stay well informed, not just with District 4, but all the districts.
So you're campaigning. You feel it's a full-time job?
It is a full-time job, and I have another full-time job, which, I own another business, and before that I had a business. So to me, a businessman never rests, and this is just an extension of that.
Oh, I know that feeling.
You go out and you meet the people you've done business with in the past.
Right.
You talk to the new people. As a matter of fact, I enjoy the camaraderie that I have with the 7 other candidates. I mean, people said, Mike, you're getting into an arena there with people. They're going to start the mudslinging, this and the other thing. I'm happy to say that up until this point, myself included and the 7 other candidates for District 4 have always been very congenial to each other. We look forward to seeing each other. We're both, when I say both, I mean all 8 of us, running a very hectic schedule.
Yeah.
And we see each other. I have more meals with the other candidates each week than I do with my own kids or my own family.
Yeah, because you're all together. Have you ever served on any commissions or boards?
I've served on a number of boards. Starting when I was 10 years old, I was part of a junior leadership program with 4-H, the Shingle Springers out of Shingle Springs. Went through demonstration days, went on to national leadership programs. Later in high school, did some things with Ponderosa High School. But one of the dearest ones to my heart was the Boys and Girls Club. I was on the board with the Boys and Girls Club back between 2000 and I believe 2003 or 4, before the challenging times started to wind down in the housing. And
Sure.
my base business was housing, so
Right.
I had to pay attention to business
Right.
and do less volunteer work. I'm also a member of the Kiwanis Club. I'm a member of the El Dorado County Chamber, the Divide Chamber, the Shingle Springs Chamber. I support the Sheriff's Posse. Like I said, I've been through the Sheriff's Academy, Citizens Academy. I've never been to jail. I've never been had a DUI, so I wanted to learn about that side of the program. I haven't been on the board with Moore, but
Okay.
I do a lot of donations from my current company with Moore, Big Brother, Big Sister, Boys and Girls Club, 4-H, Ponderosa FFA, the El Dorado Music Program, El Dorado Alumni Association, and there's a lot that I do in this community.
So you've been working with a lot of the local and private boards and areas. I was just wondering if you had any public experience, like sitting on any commission or boards. But that's okay. I mean, what you do is as important as anything else. So
I'm sure somewhere along that way I have. I just can't remember.
That's okay.
And I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm kind of proud of the fact that my mom's a 2009 El Dorado Rose.
Yeah?
That's for 35
Wow.
years of community service here in El Dorado County. And my daughter actually works at the California Farm Bureau here in El Dorado County and is instrumental in ag in the classroom. And those things
Good.
are dear to my heart, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's important that our kids know where milk comes from, besides Rayleigh's.
It would be nice, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your voting history and all that. Have you voted in every election since you've been here?
Pretty much voted in every election. I can't recall if I voted in every primary election.
Okay.
And until now, I didn't think primaries were that important. But this might be the most important primary. Number one, because I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I'm asking for people's vote. But secondly, two very good candidates could actually split that vote with this many candidates, and neither one of us could make it.
Right. Right.
That's always a
with
fear.
that many people running. It's very difficult. Good luck to everybody, is what I tell them. But
well, I will say this: I'm very proud of the people running.
Yeah.
And other than a few of the 8, I think 5 of the 8 would be good for the county. I'm pretty certain,
Good.
regardless of who gets the job. I'll
Right,
support
right.
them.
And it does seem like a good group of people. Well, that's one of the reasons I was interested in your voting history, because I've seen people that all of a sudden kind of said, you know what, I'm going to run, but they never voted in anything. And then you ask them, well, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice in what's going on, yet you're turning around and you're complaining and saying, I can make these changes.
Right.
If you can't make a simple thing as going to the voting booth and punching that vote.
Well, a couple of things that when you ask if I'd been on boards, I actually am currently on the Placerville Drive Business Association
It's a good one.
board.
Yeah.
And this past year, I'm really proud to say that I was the chairperson of the construction of the Holiday Ice Rink.
Cool.
And we brought 6,100 kids to skate on real ice in Placerville for the first time.
It's pretty neat.
And the committee that I'm on with that plans to do that again this year. And we learned so much, all of us, on that.
Sure.
We did sit down and have meetings. Whether we voted and we put it out to the public, I can't really say,
Yeah.
because there was such a short time frame. I'm also a member of Network El Dorado, 42 businesses that meet every Wednesday morning here in Placerville and discuss how we can help each other out.
Right.
That's 42 separate businesses. And each one of those businesses has probably an average of 3 to 5 employees. So when you look at that network, there's 200 or 300 people right there that I connect with on a weekly basis.
Right. Yeah, it's a good group. I never did join them when I was having my actual brick and mortar stores here, but it's always good to have that, because you can interact with other businesses here and you can help yourselves. And I think that's really important. Well, we're at our normal 30-minute point here, Mike. Why don't you take this time? Let's talk about, first of all, what's your webpage address?
My webpage address is Pettibone, 4, district, and 4 again.com. So that would be Pettibone4district4.com.
Okay, great. So everybody out there, you want to know about Mike, all his information is up on his website. And of course, like anything, Mike's looking for help financially, just like we are here at Old Guy Tech TV. So if you like what you hear from Mike, give him a call or send him an email. He's going to get right back to you.
Oh, we're in the office every week.
There you go. And it's because of you people out there that we can bring this show in and bring the candidates in, and that you get an opportunity to see everybody on a one-on-one. And we here, of course, would really appreciate donations too, and there's a place on our page to find that. Now, Mike's video is going to be available tomorrow on our website and also YouTube, so the world will be able to see this interview. And one of the things I say is, as we get closer to the primary, if you'd like to come back, the door is always open.
I'd love to, Rob.
Okay, so we'll keep that.
Win, lose, or draw, I'd like to come back and give a commentary with you.
Sure.
I've got so much to talk, and I'm so glad that I met you and finally had a chance to be in this studio.
I agree. I really appreciate you coming here and joining us in this little adventure that we've got going here. But we're trying to help out El Dorado County as much as we can as well. And one last thing for the viewers out there, go watch the interview that we had with Bill Schultz 2 years ago. It was an opportunity where we went into elections and we videotaped exactly what everybody does in elections, their jobs, how the votes come in, how they're counted, the whole facility. And one of the most gratifying things that we did is we set up outside in front of Building C and talk to people coming in to vote. Because if you don't know it, you can go over there and actually vote at elections. And if you're not registered, you can get an application from the post office, or you can go to Building C and they'll help you out there. But it was really neat talking to people coming in voting. And we were getting a lot of young couples coming up and saying, this is the very first time I ever voted. Yes. And it was exciting. I was excited. They were excited. It was great to see. So it's really good that everybody get involved. If you don't vote and you don't pay attention to what's going on, my opinion is you don't have a place to argue or gripe about what you don't like. And I hear all the time, my vote doesn't count. Folks, this vote right here in El Dorado County is so important that, yes, your vote does count. Because a number of years ago, as an example, in the city of Placerville, being elected as a councilman, one individual won by one vote.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. I don't want all my friends to assume I have enough friends to get me elected.
That's right. You want them out there. So anyway, we want to make sure that you all that. And I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to say, hey, this is Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV Interviews. We interviewed Mike Pettibone, running for Supervisor District 4. And hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.